Right. Yeah. So we've started discussing sentence structures. Yeah. Mubtada khabar, and we've started discussing also mudhaf ilayh. So these are actually a little bit difficult, not because the concepts are foreign to us as English speakers or even Malay speakers for that matter, but they have some, I think, nitty-gritty details in the Arabic language, which we just have to pay attention to, and we just have to absorb and try to use them, particularly in the written form as much as possible, because we will actually develop the skill, to identify sentence structures, types, typologies, so that actually we can make out the meanings of the words in an Arabic text. And that is the objective of our lessons. Okay. And I think the people who are here today, Cik Zainal and Nawaz, I think both of you have experience studying Arabic already. So I wanted to actually ask the class, whether they want to slow down and take a step back a little bit. I think the two of you are quite comfortable with where we are now. Father,
Ya, Ustaz.
ahlan wa sahlan. Yeah. Um, yeah, so since you've joined, I want to ask you how you doing with the lesson so far?
Yang part Madinah Reader, okay, I boleh slowly guess lah. Tapi yang the first part, yang verb tu ada sikit slow lah.
Oh, really? Okay.
I printed out the chart and slowly, go back to the first lesson recordings and, write down apa yang discuss lessons lah.
Apa in particular that you find difficult about the lessons? Is it like memorizing, like maybe what to add on for the saraf and
Actually,
for each form?
I wrote zero kan, so memorizing and which to join the words, apa yang nak add for the past tense, present tense. So I slowly catching up on that. I write down the things.
Yeah. Okay, inshallah, but we try our best actually to also revise the previous topics every now and then. We take maybe at certain milestones, we just take a step back, and then we go through it again, so that inshallah ta'ala it becomes comfortable for everyone. Some of the students who are first time studying Arabic also, they're not here today. So yeah, I wanted to do a revision, So I think it's okay. We'll just do a revision, and then we'll just hopefully they'll join soon, or hopefully they will catch up on the recorded lessons. The thing about learning Arabic is that you cannot miss any lessons. Actually, you can't miss any lessons, if even if you're learning a subject like Aqidah or Fiqh, or I think Tasawwuf is not so bad, because usually you just you'll take what do you call that, like snippets, from the lessons, and then you'll take it for yourself and how it applies to you. But for certain lessons, like for example, if you're doing something like faraid kan, that actually it just builds up, from the previous lesson. It just builds up from the previous lesson. So when you miss one lesson, you tend to get lost, in the subsequent lessons lah. So yeah, it's just very important for you to try and catch up as much as possible, and for you to also give a shout out if you don't understand, because we can try to help you understand by, for example, maybe I can look for other videos, for you to try and understand, or maybe I can make a video myself, and maybe that would help. Okay, ala kulli hal, inshallah ta'ala, we'll just do a revision of saraf today, and then Yeah, so there are a couple of things that we will do today. We will do a revision of all the five forms, okay, all the five verb forms today, and then we will go through the concepts of a verbal sentence and a nominal sentence. Okay, a verbal sentence is a sentence that actually begins with a verb. That means a fa'al. In Arabic, we call this jumlah fa'liyah. And a nominal sentence is a sentence that begins with an isim, you know, with a noun. So we call this jumlah ismiyah, and there are many forms of jumlah ismiyah, and one of the forms that is commonly used and we've already gone through is the form that we call mubtada khabar. You know, in Malay or in English, we call this subject and predicate. You know, of course, in Malay, it's just subject predicate. So it's just subject and predicate. So inshallah ta'ala, we'll go through that, and then we'll go through the Madinah reader. And I was telling the rest of the class that I have a hard stop at 10:15 because I'm traveling today. You know, so also, so those people who want to catch up with recorded lessons, it might take some time. Usually I do it the same day, you know, so this time it might take some time. Maybe give me a few days before I actually upload the lessons. Okay, so taib, inshallah ta'ala, we'll start now. So let me just share my screen. So it actually took me a while to get used to using an iPad tablet. Alhamdulillah, with help from people like Nawaz and others, I think I've gotten the hang of it now. And I've learned how to switch when I'm using two devices like this. I've learned how to switch off sound, you know, so that there's no feedback after watching like 2 or 3 videos for each problem I've had to troubleshoot. I think I'm getting the hang of it, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, Taib. So we're going to talk about do a revision on the forms of fa'al. Okay, so remember that a fa'al, okay, oops, that's, yeah, so a fa'al, speak too soon. Okay, so a fa'al, okay, a fa'al is a verb, okay, and as I mentioned before, the Malay translation for a fa'al is probably a lot more closer to what how the Arabs think of this word, because the Malays will just call it kata kerja, you know, and really fa'al is basically just something that describes something, or rather a word that describes something that you are doing, you know. So like for example, we mentioned in the in some of the earlier lessons that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, alam tarakai fa'ala rabbuka. Yeah, so what do you remember, or did you not see what your Lord, your Lord did to Rabbuka bi ashabil fil, with the ashabil fil, you know, the army of the elephant. So we say did your Lord do, you know, so the Malays will just translate it as apa yang Tuhan kau kerjakan ke atas ashabil fil, you know. So basically it is just a doing verb that describes something that you are doing, you know. So when we say fa'ala, it is basically just doing something, whatever it is, you know. So it is actually a verb, this verb that is derived from the isim fa'lun, which actually means kata kerja, okay. it actually means something which is to do something. Okay, fa'ala. Okay, so we started with this, and then we said that, so at the very basic form, okay, this fa'al, yeah, we call this thulathi mujarrad, okay, because the asal of fa'al, that means the origin, you know, at its very bare form, it comes with 3-letter roots, you know, what we call the fa'ul fa'al, the ainul fa'al, and the lamul fa'al, okay, or the fa'ul kalima, the ainul kalima, and the lamul kalima. And every time we say, look at the fa'ul fa'al, or the ainul fa'al, or the lamul fa'al, we are referring to, looking at, or rather we are inferring, you know, we are referring you to looking at the first, the second, or the third, you know, alphabets in a verb, any verb. So even if I were to say something like dakhala, I would have referred to the dal as the fa'ul fa'al, the kha as the ainul fa'al, and the lam here coincidentally as the lamul fa'al. Okay, right? So that is how we refer to it. And why don't I just say 1, 2, and 3? Because I want you to be able to use an Arabic dictionary, and this is how the Arabs would refer to the roots of their verbs. And then even if you start reading books of tafsir, you know, they will tell you, you know, the mufassirin, they will actually tell you the al-madmum, al-madmum or dhamma ala fa'ul fa'il. So they will tell you, they will actually tell you this is how the Arabs would pronounce it. Or sometimes there's a different qira'ah for a word in the Quran. So they will tell you ala thani kaza wa kaza, ala thani ala al-fa al-madmuma. So they will actually tell you sorry, al-awwal ala al-fa al-madmuma wa thani ala al-fa al-maftuha, for example. Yeah, so they will tell you that, oh, so the first reading you will have the fa'ul fa'il, even if they're talking about dakhala, where it is pronounced as dakhala. The second one with the fa'ul fa'il as a dhamma. So they will actually describe this to you. So this is actually very useful for you to know, and for you to get used to the to it conceptually in the Arabic language. Yeah. So once you get comfortable with that, you can also use that skill, you know, to read a book in Arabic, which is usually full of things like this, you know, fawaid, ishkalat, you know, ikhtilafat in the Arabic language. So you will benefit from it in that manner. Okay, so we told you that this fa'al at the very basic form, you know, it comes in 3-letter roots, which is called mujarrad fa'al. So that means we call this thulathi mujarrad. There are three alphabets, you know, that's why we call it thulathi. And we say mujarrad because they have no additions. Okay, so sometimes after this we will grow, and then we will tell you that actually that there are additions to fa'al. So instead of actually pronounce it like this, we will pronounce it like this, you know, fa'ala yufa'ilu taf'ilan. So it becomes something else. Yeah, then we add meanings to it, you know, or we will tell you that actually there's an alif at the front, and this alif is not from the mudara'ah. It's not the something from anaitu, but rather this is from the fa'al itself. So the fa'al is af'ala yuf'ilu if'alan fahuwa muf'il. So it actually goes on and it grows like that. So you have to just get used to these things, you know, these istilahat, concept and the concepts behind it. Okay, so and we will go to it very soon, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, so for the thulathi mujarrad, there are only there are only 5 forms. Okay, so and there's nothing that means you don't get additions to it. It is just like that. Okay, there's just 5 forms. So the first form is what we call fa'ala. Okay, yaf'alu. Okay, fa'ala yaf'alu, which we have pointed out to you that you will see a fatha on the ainul fa'al. The next one is fa'ala yaf'ulu. So you will see a dhamma on the ainul fa'al. And then the third form, okay, is fa'ala yaf'ilu. So you will see a kasra on the ainul fa'al. Okay, so you will notice here that the madi for these verb forms, which we call wazn, okay, we call the verb forms, we call them wazn, and wazn actually literally means weights, okay, or weights, and the jama of it is awzan, okay, is awzan. Right? Okay, so it actually means literally means weight or weights, but when we talk about it in Arabic language, that means we are referring to the verb forms. Okay, so there's one in the wazn of fa'ala yaf'alu, the other one in the wazn of fa'ala yaf'ulu, and the other one in the wazn of fa'ala yaf'ilu. The madi are all in the same wazn. The only thing that changes is the mudari'. Okay, only the mudari' changes. Right? And I also mentioned this because some people have PM'd me on the site to ask me this question. So how do we know, you know, what's which wasn't to use for which fa'al? Or can we choose? Can we choose to say, for example, dakhala yadkhulu or dakhala yadkhilu? I said no. Okay, so the answer to that question is that no. Every verb, okay, so if it's dakhala, it actually belongs to one of these 3 forms. And dakhala yadkhulu obviously belongs to this form because the mudari is yadkhulu. Okay, with a dhamma on the ainul fa'al. Okay, and a verb that is jalasa yajlisu. Okay, so dakhala yadkhulu again means to enter. Jalasa yajlisu means he sat or he sits. Yeah, so it actually belongs here. Okay, it actually belongs here. So the ainul fa'al is a kasrah. Okay, and it is always like this. Again, it is always like this. That means you can't choose to say jalasa yajlusu or jalasa yajlasu because it doesn't belong in that wazn. It belongs in this wazn. And how do we know this? We know this by listening to the Arabs. And in fact, they say that in ancient times, whenever a linguist talks about a verb form or a way of expressing something in the Arabic language, their hujjah would be, I heard an Arab saying it like that, you know. Whereas if you're talking about fiqh, then you say that the hujjah would be a qawaid, something from the qaida of the qawaid fiqhiyah. Maybe you can say that it's from the Quran, it's from the hadiths of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But for Arabic, no. We say that the proof is that ancient Arabs said it like that, and that is how it is. Okay, and the speech of modern Arabs is not a hujjah, you know, because they have lost the purity of that tongue. And when you're talking about the purity of the tongue, that means we're talking about, like, for example, nobody speaks English like the way Shakespeare wrote his plays, you know. So you can say that the purity of the English language has also been lost in some sense, because if Shakespearean English was the peak of the English language, then that means they've moved away from the peak. That means the language and the people who speak it, you know, the way that they speak, they've gone into a decline. So similarly for Arabic, the peak of the Arabic language is the language that was spoken by the Quraysh at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So everything that as we get further and further away from that time, that the language will tend to decline, and then people will use words in a different way. They incorporate English words into the Arabic language, and sometimes even the Arabs, they think that actually this is Arabic. I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but one guy who was repairing my aircon in Tarim, so the Arabs, they call this air conditioner mukayyif, but this guy, he said kandesen. I bought, to be kandesen. Basawi kandesen indakum. He said, he actually said kandesen. So I said, what do you say? He said kandesen. I said, so what's kandesen? He said, this one. I said, oh, it's air condition. It's derived from air condition, and like plumber, it's called shabak, in classical Arabic. But the Saudis, they will actually say ana bed fitter. Ana bed fitter. Say, what's this? So actually it's pipe fitter, so they do this, they do these things, they actually, it is actually called amongst its that occupation is actually called bed fitter. Bed fitter, and it actually comes from pipe fitter, it's a plumber basically. So they do this. So ala kulli hal, so these are, so you got the first, the second, and the third awzan. Okay, so the three awzan, and then there's one that comes in this form. Fa'ula. Yaf'ulu. Okay, fa'ula yaf'ulu. Okay, and it doesn't have any other accompanying forms with a fatha on the ainul fa'al or a kasra on the ainul fa'al. It doesn't have any other forms. Okay, it just takes this form. So when you know that verb, comes in fa'ula in the madi, there is no other option. There is no other possibility for its mudari. Okay, so this is the fourth form, and the fifth form is fa'ila yaf'alu. Okay, fa'ila yaf'alu. So again, in this form, okay, just like this one, we don't have any other options. Okay, the other two options don't exist. It is only if whenever you find a fa'il where the madi comes in fa'ila, the mudari will always be yaf'alu. Okay, it doesn't come in any other form. So these are the five wazns. Okay, these are the five wazn or awzan. Okay, and we gave examples for each of them. So let me just look at the time. Okay, right. So we gave examples for each of them. For example, the first one is, we gave this example, like for example, fataha. Okay, fataha. So the mudari must be yaftahu. All right, it must be yaftahu. There's no other option for it. Okay, and then the second one, fa'ala yaf'ulu. So we gave this example, dakhala yadkhulu. Okay, so it must come in this form. Okay, the mudari must come in this form, and there are no other options to it. Okay, and then fa'ala yaf'ilu. Okay, for example, we gave this one already, so we'll just never mind, we'll do another one. Daraba, okay, yadribu. Daraba yadribu, which means to beat, beating someone. Okay, so these are the examples. Okay, And one thing that I mentioned, I said that, well, we don't have we don't have what do you call that? We don't have we don't have a formula, but we can tell you that actually that there are some indicators. Okay, so the ulama have given us some indicators. They said, for example, if your ainul fa'al or your lamul fa'al comes in one of the harf from the harf al-halkum, that means the huruf where when you pronounce it, it comes from your throat, yeah, and there are 6 of them. Okay, Hamza, Ha, Ha, Kha, Ain, okay, and Ghin. So they say that actually if it comes in harf of the halkum, then chances are you will find it in this wazn. Okay, just like Fataha Yaftahu. And again, we say that these things are indicators, because we can see that the next one is also harf al-halkum, but it doesn't come in that wazn. And then we have words like hasaba, okay, hasaba, which you know that there are several ways to pronounce hasaba. You can pronounce it hasaba yahsibu, and hasaba hasaba yahsabu, hasaba yahsabu. So it comes in both pronunciations, and in fact, you will find in the Quran, in Surah Humaza, in Surah Ayahsibu, Annallaha Ayahsibu, Alal Afida. What's it? Salli ala Muhammad. Yeah. So if you look at the Quran at Surah Al-Humazah, so Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says, Yahsabu anna ma lahu akhlada. Yahsabu anna ma lahu akhlada. No, not, yeah, sorry. Okay, I made this mistake last week. Okay, I made this mistake last week. I said the ainul fa'al or the lamul fa'al. Did I say ain and lam or fa and lam? Sorry, yeah. Let me just take a reference book. Sometimes I forget these things and of one. All right, it's correct. Okay, so if the ainul fa'al or the lamul fa'al, okay, the ainul fa'al or the lamul fa'al comes in one of the harf halkum, then it would take this form, and we say that this is something that is that typically happens, but sometimes there are exceptions to it. Okay, so that sorry, that example that I gave in Surah Al-Humazah is for another shadh. It's not for this one. Okay, so yeah, so that is for the next one. So sorry, yeah, just ignore that. So it comes whenever the ainul fa'il or the lamul fa'il comes in the harf al-kum, it would take this form. But sometimes they don't take this form. Okay, because like for example, dakhala yadkhulu. Okay, the ainul fa'il is a kha, and it should actually. Oh, sorry. Did I write kha there? Yeah, I did. Okay, so it should take. It should take. My ain is messed up. Oh man. Sorry. Okay, so my okay. So but it comes in the form of dakhala yadkhulu. So it's not a hard and fast rule, it's just indication. And in the this book that I'm holding here, Tasrif al-Iz, it says, like for example, aba ya'ba. Aba ya'ba. It should be aba ya'bi. Okay, aba ya'bi, but it says aba ya'ba. So there are some words that come out of the norm. Okay, that come out of the norm. And the third form, daraba yadribu. Okay, daraba yadribu, which means to beat. Also, there are some words that you will find, okay, as you study the Arabic language, you will find that some words, you see, you can see it as hasiba yahsabu and hasiba yahsibu. So this is the one that I mentioned just now from Surah Al-Humazah, which is Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says in the Quran, yahsabu annama lahu akhlada. Yeah, yahsabu instead of yahsibu, when actually it belongs in this wazn. So in fact, this, whenever you find words like this in the Arabic language where they have more than one form, you will find that actually it will have more than one qira'ah also in the Quran, because according to proper Arabic, it should have been read yahsibu. And you find that actually many of the qira'ats, many of the qurra, they actually pronounce it as yahsibu annama lahu akhlada instead of yahsabu annama lahu akhlada. Okay, so you find those type of things. So again, these things are just indicators. Yeah. And then there's another indicator also, which okay, I made mistake again, sorry. Okay, so yahsabu doesn't belong there. Yahsibu belongs here. Sorry, hasiba. Hasiba yahsabu. Okay, so ala kulli hal, there's hasiba yahsabu and hasiba yahsibu. Okay, so the qiraat in the Quran, there's yahsaba annama lahu akhlada and yahsabu annama lahu akhlada and yahsibu annama lahu akhlada and yahsabu annama lahu akhlada. Sorry about that again. Okay, so it belongs here. Hasiba hasiba yahsabu and hasiba yahsibu. Okay, and so sorry about that. We'll go back to this. The fourth form, and fa'ula yaf'ulu. Okay, fa'ula yaf'ulu, I mentioned that there is an indicator as to when we use this form as well. And the indicator is that if it is derived from a sifat, like for example, the word kabir means big, and for someone to grow big, yeah, we would say kabura. Kabura yakburu. Okay, the word saghir means small, and if we were to use it as a verb, we would say saghura. Okay, so it would be kabura yakburu or saghura yahsuru. Okay, so these are words that are derived from sifat, and a lot of other words as well, like karib. Okay, like karib. So we would say qaruba yaqrubu. Like ba'id, we would say ba'uda yab'udu. Okay, and then the last form is fa'ila yaf'ulu. Okay, fa'ila yaf'alu. Okay, so fa'ila yaf'alu, for example, alima ya'lamu. Alima ya'lamu means to know. Okay, and there are words like hasiba. So this is the example from Surah Al-Humazah. Forgive me for my mistake just now. It is pronounced as hasiba yahsabu according to the kaidah. However, we will find that many of the Arabs will say hasiba yahsibu. And because of this, you know, there are actually two different qira'ah for that ayat in the Quran from Surah Al-Humazah, which is has yahsabu annama lahu akhlada and yahsibu annama lahu akhlada. Okay, alafu minnak. So sorry about that. Okay, so type. So we've gotten past that, alhamdulillah. And then we also, okay, we also talked about this, yeah, the saraf, which is which related to the domir, okay, the domiriya. So when we talk about the domir, yeah, we are referring to what? We are referring to pronouns. What is the equivalent of he, she, we, okay, I, you, and so on in the English language? Yeah. So so like let's say if I'm going to say something like for example, what have we not used? What verb have we not used? Let me see. So if that's about it too. Let's look at a new verb that we've not used.
Darasa.
Darasa. Okay, darasa. Darasa. Okay. Type. Darasa. Okay. Darasa yadrusu. Okay. Darasa yadrusu. So, yeah, if what we went through are all the singulars, okay, and these singulars are actually very important. And in fact, with the singulars, if you know the singulars, you can actually speak to an Arab and they will understand what you're talking about. You know, even if you're talking about the jama and you use the singular, yeah, they will still understand what you're talking about. That's why we start with the singular, so that actually you get a picture of how, you know, Arabic conversation actually goes. Right. So ya darasa yadrusu. Okay, so this is for he. Okay, he. So that means this is mudzakkar ghaib mufrad. Okay, so that means it's for a male who is a third person in the conversation, and he is and we're just talking about him in the singular. Okay, so we would say ya darasa yadrusu. So darasa yadrusu, what happens to the mudhari? We actually add something that we call a mudara'a. Okay, a mudara'a mudara'a means an additional huruf at the beginning of a mudari', okay, and this addition actually points you appropriately to the pronoun that you are referring to, okay. And I mentioned this also, that remember that the hamza and the nun only applies in two circumstances. Okay, the hamza when you're talking about the I, ana, so you would say adrusu, and the nun only applies to the mutakallim, so the speaker's voice, when he's talking about himself in jamak form, yeah, in the plural form, so he would say nadrusu. So for all the other forms, yeah, you can exclude thinking about whether these two fit in. You just focus on this and this. Okay, ya and ta. Okay, for now. Okay, for now. Inshallah ta'ala. Let's see. There's a question. Okay, dah sampai destination. Alright. Okay. Right. Okay, so we learned after that how to do she. So when we do she, yeah, this is how we do she in the past tense. So this is mu'annath, this is mu'annath, ghaib, and mufrad. Okay, so this is for a third person female, yeah, who is whom we are describing in the singular. That means she's just alone. Okay, so what do? We add this huruf here, okay, this harf here, which is called ta'nith sakinah. Okay, because we call it ta'nith because actually the existence of this describes to us a mu'annath. Okay, a mu'annath, that means a feminine form. Okay, and we call it sakinah because there's a sukun here. Okay, instead of a harakat, so it's not mutaharrik, but it is with a sukun, so we call it sakinah. Okay, type ta'nith sakinah, so we say darasats. Okay, and then if we want to say it in the present tense form, we would add, what would we add? I don't want to ask Nawaz, I ask Father. So what would we add? Remember, we narrowed down the option to just
Huruf
ya.
ta. Ta.
Tak, ya. Tak. Okay, so we add a tak, so it becomes hiya tadrusu. Okay, so she studies. Okay, studies. We would say hiya tadrusu. Okay, right. And then if we're talking to someone, yeah, a male and a female, okay, so we would say, what would we say? Father.
Darosat. Darosat.
No, tak ada. Remember this one. This is a way to remember. So you, kan, when you're talking to a male in Arabic, what is the pronoun for you?
Anta.
Anta. Okay. So anta, anta. So jadi you kenakan terus. Disukunkan
Darasat.
anta. So jadi apa? Tengok apa yang kena dengan this one. Anta. So
Darasat.
no.
Darasta.
Darasta, betul. So jadi you ingat, okay, kalau dia bunyi dia anta, darasta. Okay? Terus you kenakan dengan darasta. Anta darasta. Okay? And then the auntie pun sama juga. Okay? The auntie ni bukan itu tau, Auntie Mary. Ni auntie as in you for a female. So this is muannath, muannath, mukhatabah, mufrad. Okay, so we're talking about a single female. Oh, sorry, we're talking to a single female. Okay, so what would we say?
Darasti.
Darasti. Okay, pasal dia kena dengan apa? Domir? Pronoun dia apa?
She.
Tak ada. Auntie. Okay. Auntie. Tadi kita cakap auntie kan. Jadi dia apa? Dia kena dengan auntie. Darasti. Okay. Senang you nak ingat. Dia selalu it will always be like this. Okay. So sekarang kita pergi dia punya mudhari'. Okay, mudhari'.
Afwan Ustaz, am I right to say you have to sukunkan the lamul fi'il?
Sukunkan the lamul fi'il, ya. You have to sukunkan the lamul fi'il.
Okay.
Okay.
And tadi you mentioned mukhatabah means the person who is spoken to.
The person who is spoken to. So the khitab is an address. Okay. So the mukhatib is the speaker. The one addressing, the mukhatab is the one who is being addressed.
Okay.
That is isim fa'il, isim maf'ul. Okay, isim maf'ul, the mukhatab. So the feminine would be the mukhatabah. Okay. Then I should have said ghaibah also. I should have said ghaibah, and maybe just now I said ghaib for she.
I see.
So this is mukhatabah. Okay, mukhatabah. So we are actually addressing someone. Okay. So kalau apa? Kalau dia punya ini, dia punya mudhari'. So for you, okay, if we are addressing a male, it would be tadrusu. Okay, tadrusu. This one, kan? This one, okay, you see these two, okay? These two, she dengan you for male, kan? Dia punya form is exactly the same. Okay? But we are referring to two different things. So how do we know? We will know from the context, okay, of the sentence, of the conversation. We will know whether you are referring to a she or we are referring to you, as in addressing someone, muhatab, okay, in the second person. So we will only know from the context, okay, but the form is the same. Okay, yeah. Apa? Tadrusu lah. That's why it's exactly the same. Okay. Tadrusu and tadrusu. Okay. So for the female, for the female that we are, for the female that is ghaib, and for the male that is mukhatab, it's exactly the same form. Okay. Hiya tadrusu and anta tadrusu. Okay. We only know from the context. Okay. Type. And then for female, okay, kalau kita cakap to a female, so now we are using the present tense verb. Okay, we are using the present tense verb. So we say, okay, it's almost the same. Okay, it's almost the same. Okay, sampai sini dia sama. Tadru sama. Tapi apa? Tapi kita kena tambah this one. Tadrusina. Okay. Tadrusina. Okay. Tadrusina. Okay. So it's almost like tadrusu, but you have an addition of this ya and this nun. Okay. The ya is representative of something that is mu'annath. That means it's still a ya mu'annatha. That means it describes a female. So you will always see this ya there. Okay. As for the nun is a ziyada. So sometimes ziyada means addition. Okay. So sometimes you will see it drop off in certain sentence structures. You will see that actually it drops off. Like for example, when you put a harfan nasab in front, you will see that it actually drops off. But harf of nasab is actually a tool that we use in the Arabic language, okay, which we will come to it inshallah ta'ala. So when you put it there, it will actually drop off, you know. And then when we use the fi'al amr, the command form, you will see that actually the nun ziyada also drops off. Okay. So the last two should be actually quite simple. This is for the pronouns, okay, I and we, okay, which is ana and nahnu, okay, ana and nahnu. So for the madhi, okay, darasa yadrusu, if I'm talking about myself, ana in the past tense form, okay, I would say daras. What is it? This father. Sorry, I have to pick on you because Zainal dropped out and Nawas is the only other person here today, you know. So I have to ask you, father.
Ini untuk Ana.
Ana.
Kalau Ana kan kita add the alif kan.
Bukan. Itu kalau apa? Itu kalau kita cakap pasal mudhari'. Kalau kita cakap mudhari', yes, kita add the alif in front. Kenapa kita add the alif in front? Pasal these are things that we call mudhara'ah. These are, remember I said that they are called mudhara'ah because they are additional huruf that you must add in front of a mudhari' in order for it to be recognized as a mudhari' form. Okay? Tapi you tengok kalau apa? Kalau you tengok this madhi ni, rata-rata dia punya tambah kat mana?
Kat belakang yang tak.
Belakang. Kat belakang. Jadi you tengok you dah pakai sukun. You dah pakai apa tu fathah, dah pakai kasrah. So this one apa yang belum pakai?
Atas darasta.
Tak ada. Darasta dah pakai. Ni anta darasta, ingat tak? Anta darasta, anti darasti. Ha. Ha? Jadi isteri Ana cakap antu macam mana? Antu. Ana antu. Jadi antu jadi apa?
Tu darastu.
Darastu. Jadi ingat aja aku antu, darastu. Okey. Aku antu darastu. Jadi ingat apa tu I studied is darastu. Okey, darastu. This one belum buat. Okey. Ingat sukun ini memang dia punya asal. Tak ada tambahan. Okey. Ini sukun dah letak, fathah dah letak, kasrah dah letak, yang belum letak apa? Dhamma. Dhamma. Jadi ana darastu. Okey. Ana darastu. And this is apa tu, this tak ni actually represents the dhamir ana. Okay. Baik. Lepas tu kalau apa tu dia punya mudhari', how do we say? Tadi dah cakap.
Ya.
Apa dia?
Oh ni yad usi
Tak
tambah
ada.
ya.
Tak ada, daripada darasa yadrusu, this is the asal form kan. Jadi kalau anda nak cakap bukan yadrusu means he studies. Kalau I studies pula kan. I study.
Jadi ana
Ni. Ingat.
so Ustaz tak ini sangatlah.
So jadi ana adrusu.
Sama.
Ana adrusu. Remember I told you kalau tadi kan I cakap dengan you this ana itu ni, this two is negligible kan for every other form except ana dengan nahnu aja kita pakai. If not we will never use this hamzah and the nun to add. Okay? And kalau fi'il mudhari' ni ingat senang aja kan. Ana adrusu. Nahnu nadrusu. Dia apa tu dia tambah apa tu hamzah dengan tambah nun aja. Pasal apa? Dia kena dengan ana, dia kena dengan nahnu. Okay? So jadi with that, having said that, jadi nahnu apa?
Adrusu.
Nahnu
adrusu.
Tak, nahnu nadrusu.
Tambah nun.
Dia kan kena dengan ana ni. Dia kena dengan ana. Nah, ini kena dengan nahnu. Jadi dia terus kenakan aja. Okay? Ana adrusu, nahnu nadrusu. Okay? Kalau dia punya, tadi kita skip this one. So, jadi kalau dia punya, ini macam mana? Dia punya madhi. Jadi apa?
Tu tambah nun di depan. Kan?
Ini. Ingat kalau madhi kita tak tambah kat depan, kita tambah kat mana? Madhi kita tak ada tambah kat depan. Jadi kita tambah kat
tak sure sangat.
tambah kat belakang. Tambah kat
tambah
belakang. Kita tambah dia punya nun juga, sama juga. Kita tambah nun. Okey? Tapi kita tambah nun dengan apa? Dengan satu mat mat alif kat belakang, jadi kita sebut darasna. Nahnu darasna. Okey? Okay, this one apa tu ni no choice kan. for you to be able to read comfortably and straight away you can recognize dia punya domir, this one you memang nak kena practice lah. Okay, you nak kena practice, you kena you kena buat a bit of memorization, you kena ingat. Okay, kalau darasa yadrusu, okay, ni asal dia, that means it's he. She macam mana? Darasat tadrusu. So you have to do that, Okay, kalau you dah you dah memorize this, things will become easier insya-Allah taala. Okay, this one you kena commit to memorizing pada. Okay,
Baik.
okay, baik. So we've done this. Okay, now let's do something else. Okay, this one I have to do now because we will actually come across it in our next exercise in Madinah Reader. So it's important that actually you know this now. Okay, remember I told you that there are generally speaking two types of Arabic sentence structures. Okay, one is called al-jumlah. Okay, al-fi'liyah. Okay, and the other one is called al-jumlah al-ismiyah. Okay, so jumlah means sentence. Okay, jadi orang Melayu kita sebut apa, jumlah ni total kan, so orang Arab dia cakap jumlah ni is a sentence, and I didn't check what do you call that, a lexicon, but I'm guessing that the meaning probably is derived from words that are put together, to form a sentence, and that's why it's called jumlah. Okay, when you put it together, then it's actually called then that's why you call jumlah, because when you want to buy something wholesale from an Arab, you go to a provision shop and say, no, I want to buy something wholesale because I got majlis, I not give this as door gifts, and you will actually tell them, well, jumlah come. So they know that actually jumlah actually means actually the total of things, So actually when you want to sell something wholesale, you will say jumlah. Okay? So it actually so the meaning is actually the same as how we use it in Malay. It's just that we use it for different things. Okay, tapi the asal of the meaning is the same, right? So this word fa'liyah, so sorry about my handwriting. I'll just write it again. Fa'liyah. So I think this one is nicer lah. Fi'liyah. Okay. So this, when we say jumlah fi'liyah, we mean this is a verbal sentence. Okay, verbal sentence. Okay, so remember that jumlah means sentence. So fi'liyah, it comes from the asal of the word fi'l. It comes from fi'lin. Okay, it comes from fi'lun. Asalnya fi'lun, tapi because we are not saying verb sentence verb, but we are saying verbal. Okay, so we add this ya and this ta marbuta at the end, it becomes fi'liyah. Okay, it's a verbal sentence. Okay, and the other one is called a jumlah al-ismiyah. Okay, al-jumlah al-ismiyah, it comes from the asal isim. Okay, isim means apa? It means name. Okay, it means name. But here we don't say a name or namish sentence, but we call it what? We call it, in English, we call it a nominal sentence. Okay, because it starts with an isim. Okay, and isim here means what? Means noun. Okay, so you will see that the difference between these two sentence structures is that the jumlah fi'liyah, it actually begins with a fi'l, and the jumlah ismiyah, it actually begins with an isim, okay, with a noun. Right? So I'll give examples, and these examples, you will actually come across it in the book, inshallah ta'ala, very soon. I think in the next lesson you will find it already. So that's why we have to go through it now. Okay. So for example, okay, if I'm talking about someone, okay, let's say I'm talking about Yusuf. I'm talking about Yusuf. Okay. So Yusuf is a mudzakkar, okay, a male, is a mufrad, is a singular male, okay, and he is also ghaib. That means he's not being addressed in this in this speech, but rather he is being talked about. So it is the third person, okay, huwa, Yusuf. So let's say Yusuf goes to the market, or Yusuf went to the market. How would I say Yusuf went to the market? I would just say Dhahaba. If I already know him, I would just say, I already know, and you already know who I'm talking about. I would just say Dhahaba ila as-suki. Okay? Dhahaba ila suki. Okay, suk means market. Okay? And this is if someone asks you, Aina Yusuf. Okay, where is Yusuf? So you would say, Dhahaba ila suki. He went to the market. But if let's say he's not known, you know, because you're not responding to a question, but you want to say that Yusuf went to the market, you want to make a statement to someone, so maybe you are the initiator of this conversation, then you would say, Dhahaba Yusufu ila suki. Okay, Dhahaba Yusufu ila suki, and here I've actually put Yusuf, okay, his name after the fi'l of what he did, you know, which is to go. Okay, why? Because we are talking about a sentence structure which is verbal. Okay, so verbal sentence, jumlah fi'liyah. So we have to begin with the verbs, the fi'l. Okay, dhahaba ila suki or dhahaba Yusufu ila suki. Okay, so the sentence must begin with the fi'l. Okay, and this sentence, for completion, I'll just write the translations. Okay, he went to the market, and then the other one is Yusuf went to the market. Okay, right. So this is a verbal sentence. So in fact, if I just say dhahaba ila suq, and you will come across this actually in the in the next lesson in Madinah Reader. Okay, dhahaba ila suq, it means he went to the market. Okay, I don't even have to say the huwa. Okay, because if I say huwa, then it would not be a verbal sentence. Okay, because we've just added a name in front. Okay, a noun in front, so it becomes a nominal sentence. It's jumlah ismiyah. Right? So this is the first type of sentence structures. Okay, and this is something that you remember I told you that actually you can say a lot of things with just the singular in Arabic, right? So you know why I say that? Because actually if you're using a verbal sentence structure, you don't even have to change the verb into dual, okay, or into plural, okay, because why? Because if you actually begin a sentence with a verb, you can just use the mufrad And how will we reference where this verb, whether it refers to a singular, a dual, or in the plural form? Because we can see what comes after that. Okay, because they will refer to the people who are referenced to with this verb, and then you can see whether it's dual or plural and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's why I say that actually with the singular you can say a lot of things, but you have to use a verbal sentence structure. Okay, and this is very useful for non-Arab speakers, because sometimes you take some time to say dhahaba, dhahabu, or so you say dhahaba ila souk. It can mean actually a lot of people going to the souk. Okay, type. Okay, and you can do this also with yadhabu as well in the mudhari form. Okay, yadhabu Yusufu ila suki. Okay, it means Yusuf goes to the market. Okay, so this is the mudhari form. It's still jumlah fi'liyah. Okay, so just one last one, quick one. Okay, mubtada khabar. Okay, mubtada khabar. Okay, remember that actually if you want to say something, I always tell people that if you want to say something in and you want to put is, are, was, were in between, you use this form called mubtada khabar. Okay, so for example, if I want to say the man, okay, ar-rajul is handsome. Okay, the man is handsome. Ar-rajulu wasimun. Okay, so you just put the noun for a man, rajul, and then you put the sifat, the adjective wasim at the end. There's no is. Okay, so usually, typically, and again, I say that this is typically because this is not the only way the sentence can come. It can come in many other forms. However, we can say that actually 95% you will find it in this form. Okay, in mubtada khabar, usually when we want to say something, we would say the man. Okay, so if you see something, you see this alif lam ma'rifah in front. Okay, and this is marfu. That means it comes with a dhamma. We'll talk about this another time. Okay, ar-rajul wasimun. Okay, wasimun, it means and it also comes in this form. Okay, and you don't find an alif walam here. Okay, it is in mubtada khabar form. This is the subject and this is the predicate. The man is handsome. Okay, so this is one way you can identify mubtada khabar, and again, this is just indicative. It doesn't always come in this form. Okay, ar-rajulu wasimun. So I can say also al-waladu jamilun. Okay, the boy is beautiful. I can say that. Okay, al-mar'atu jamilatun. Okay, so you will see that I use the alif walam in the first one, and in the second word I don't use alif walam. And again, I say that this is just indicative at this level. When you look at a sentence like that with alif walam in front, and then you see that it is nakira, it is indefinite. In the second one, yeah, it is usually in the form of mubtada khabar. So that is how you would translate it. Okay, so I seek your forgiveness for the mistakes that I made during class. And I also seek your forgiveness that I have to actually cut this lesson short because I have to travel. Okay, I have to catch a bus in slightly more than an hour. So we'll leave you here, and inshallah ta'ala, I'll try to upload the lessons as soon as possible. Okay. So we'll end here with Al-Fatiha. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants us beneficial knowledge, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us for our mistakes. Ala hadiniya wa la kulli niyatin salihah. Ma lutfin wa afiyah yusli sya'na kulla zahiran batinan la hadratin nabi Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Al-Fatiha. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi wasallam. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Okay, see you next week insya-Allah. Assalamualaikum.